How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs co-beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Speaking with you today following the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28 defeat in Week 5 on Monday Night Football to the Jacksonville Jaguars in a game blatantly that this one just kind of feels like one that the Chiefs let slip away. And there's multiple reasons that I feel that way, which I will break down. All in all, though, looking at this team on an overall basis for both franchises, it was a very highly competitive game, much like how me and John Shipley, the Jaguars on SI beat reporter, talked about leading into this. We predicted it to be a very close game, and it did not disappoint. There were a lot of blunders from both sides of the football, and I think that it is a learning lesson that the Chiefs have going forward as they have to face off against the Detroit Lions in Week 6 back at Arrowhead Stadium. But all in all, there are a few pinpoints that I want to bring up to the attention, and starting with how I believe that this game was winnable for the Kansas City Chiefs. As we saw in the game, there was a lot of things that just kind of went against Kansas City, and it's not really anyone else's fault except for their own. One of the big plays that comes to my mind was an interception probability where several Chiefs bobbled the football out of their hands, and what was a surely could have been, if you were to have just taken a deep breath, catch that football, you would have had an interception. I think that was kind of an indication of, this is how this game is going to go for the Kansas City Chiefs defense. On top of that, special teams was also not terrific for Kansas City. They also forced a lot of penalties. As I wrote in my recap, though, for the Kansas City Chiefs, penalties have been a plaguing issue for them. In tonight's game or yesterday's game, depending on when you do watch this podcast, the Kansas City Chiefs, either way, still had 13 penalties go for over 100 yards, 109 to be specific, whereas the Jacksonville Jaguars had 4 penalties go for 25 yards. That's not how you win games. You would do you put a lot of pressure on quarterback Patrick Mahomes to perform, and even then, Mahomes is human. He can't do everything on himself. That has been the narrative of the Kansas City Chiefs thus far when they do lose. Patrick Mahomes, had 318 passing yards. He also, once again, led in rushing yards. He scored a rushing touchdown, had a passing touchdown. He did his part in able to getting the job done. But as we know, it is not a sport that is revolved around the quarterback. And I'm not here to say that Patrick Mahomes was perfect either. The Kansas City Chiefs also had a lot of momentum leaning their way when it was their chance to get into the end zone, but Mahomes threw a 99-yard pick six. That was a real blow to the Kansas City Chiefs offense, though it did spark a little bit of a comeback in the beginning. That's not how you win. In a position going into this game, knowing that the Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos would have been tied with you should you have gotten a victory, does kind of pose a little bit of concern, I would say, if you are a part of Chiefs Kingdom. This was a game where it could have definitely turned around the narrative in the AFC West, and unfortunately, the Chiefs have to play catch-up once again, and a catch-up game where they go up against the Detroit Lions, a team that is far better than the Jacksonville Jaguars, in my opinion. Their offense is better, and I think that if the defense plays any way that they did against the Jags in Week 5, it's going to be a very difficult and tall task for Kansas City to take down Detroit next week. There was a lot of the penalty issues, and there was a lot, like I've said multiple times, there was a lot of plays that really just killed some momentum for Kansas City, whether that be the hot potato passing with a possible interception that would have been a great move, or allowing the Jaguars rookie Travis Hunter to have a very explosive play. It was plastered all over social media. People loved it, with an explosive catch, giving the Jaguars a momentum boost, something that you do not want them to have, especially while you're playing against them on the road. Personally, I think that there could have been a little bit of this team mentality going in, thinking that it's the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that we've beat for over a decade. The Jaguars just wanted this game more, and they have a very, very talented young team. That's just calling it how I see it. All in all, though, there were some positives to take away offensively. Tyquan Thornton once again proves himself to be a great pickup for the Kansas City Chiefs. In 3 receptions, he had 90 receiving yards. He was a beast once more. 34 receiving yard was his longest, in 5 targets. There is still blaring issues in the running game, once again, that Patrick Mahomes had to lead the running back room with rushes. He had 60 yards in 6 carries, averaging to a first down by that standard of every single carry that he has. While Kareem Hunt did have some explosiveness to push his way through and scoring a touchdown or 2 rather, I mean, there's just like not a whole lot, in my opinion, in that running back room. Isaiah Pacheco, his longest rush of the year came in this game, and it went for 16 yards. Kareem Hunt's longest was 33, and Mahomes was 15. Kind of things that have become a little bit familiar with those two players, and unlikely familiar, unfortunately, with Isaiah Pacheco. The defense, though, all in all, there was a lot of things to improve. Scoring, and even going into this game, I talked about this. The defense had to have a strong run defensive approach, and they did. They definitely did. They stopped the run very well against the Jaguars, allowing only 109. 54 of those came from Trevor Lawrence. And I said that, a way to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars is to have Trevor Lawrence pass the football and throw the football. It did work a little bit. The Chiefs did bring him down for 1 interception, brought him down with 3 sacks in that time. But there was just some moments, like deep passes, that really just hurt Kansas City tonight. On top of that, with penalties, and even when you had something going on offense, there was a pass interference that caused an issue. There was just a lot of things that I think going into next week, there are a lot of things to improve. Still a team that is I'm not necessarily saying that they have to find their identity, but they're definitely in need of a spark. Xavier Worthy, coming off of a game one facing Baltimore, he wasn't as prominently used, and that's understandable. He still is recovering from injuries. He was listed on the injury report as we broke it down, whether that be a shoulder dislocation injury still bothering him, or the swollen ankle that he had. All in all, come week 7, you get Rashee Rice back in this offense. Things should start beginning to get going once again. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to know your thoughts on what you thought of the Monday Night Football game. What are the things that you think that Kansas City has to improve on going forward, and fairly quickly, if I might say that, because I think that there is a lot of things, whether that be a head coaching standpoint or just a staff personnel standpoint, having to adjust some things. Patrick Mahomes has got to find a little bit more trust, and really, if the defense is not there, it is posing to be a problem for Kansas City. Could potentially be some players and positions that you see and hope to add before the trade deadline. All in all, though, be sure you follow me over on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs going forward in the regular season. You can also follow me and the rest of the crew over at KC Chiefs on SI. We post every single day, exclusively free for you. Kansas City Chiefs on SI is the place to get your Kansas City Chiefs news. as always, be kind to one another, and I will see you tomorrow.